Folks, recently I had a parent reach out to me concerned about a book that a sixth grader was reading. I understand that this was for an ELA class at the Cameron Veterans Middle School. That is this book, Fighting Words. And of course, this is on Amazon. Let's see what Amazon tells us about it. A candid and fierce middle grade novel about sisterhood and sexual abuse. Fighting Words, Cameron Veterans Middle School. They have it in the book, kind of like I showed you there on Amazon. And I believe this means they have an audio version of it. So somebody can check out the audio version and listen to that content. Let's see what information the school district provides about this book. 10-year-old Della can rely on her older sister Suki for anything. But when Suki attempts suicide, and I'm going to read that passage to you because Della witnesses Suki attempt suicide. Della must seek help and speak out about the sexual abuse they both suffered at the hands of their mother's boyfriend. Destiny says this is appropriate for grades 4 through 7. Let's look at some more details. Oh, before we do that, I want to show you. On October the 5th, I reached out to the principal at the Cameron Middle School, asking to find out if this was indeed required reading for an ELA class. I believe the district has told them not to discuss books with me. Mr. Stickla has not responded. I do not know if this book was assigned in that 6th grade ELA class or not. But let's look at the content and how the subjects that they have identified in this book. Suicidal behavior, sex crime. Children of prisoners, sex crime, suicidal behavior. They know that this content is in there. Are they warning any of the parents about the content that their child is reading? I think that they should be. I believe that a book like this should be restricted by default, and it should require a parent to check it out. The default should not be that everybody in grades 4 through 7 can read a book where they describe sex crimes, where they describe a suicide attempt. Let's go and let me read some of these passages to you. Hold on. All right, somebody's loaned me the book. I can't show you the words. I'm reading directly from the book. Clifton banged the front door. He looked at me in a way that made me jump to my feet, though I couldn't have said why. I'm just going to bed, I said. Where's your sister? Sleeping. He'd never touched me once before. I'd still never trusted him. Right then, in that instant, I knew not to trust him at all. The hairs rose up on my neck and stayed that way, like spines. He said, "She's not here, is she?" He smiled. He smiled the way that he did when he was just about to say something mean. I looked at the clock. It was only 8:30. 30 minutes until Suki came home. I listened for Tina's mom's car, but couldn't hear anything. My stomach hurt. You owe me, Clifton said. That's what I tell your sister. You owe me, living here. I didn't know then about people like Francine, people who would never love you, but at least would keep you safe. Safe-ish. Clifton gave us food and shelter, but we were never once safe with him. I'm just going to bed, I said again. He walked forward. I walked back. He came forward. I backed up. My legs hit the living room wall. I was trapped. Clifton put his hand on my leg, on the inside of my thigh, grabbed the bare skin beneath the bottom of my pajama shorts. Don't! I yanked myself sideways. He laughed, put one thick hand around my neck, grabbed the elastic band on my pajama shorts with the other, stuck his hand down the back of my shorts, inside my underwear. I screamed. Not that anyone was going to hear me. Hold on, he said. I tried to get away. He took hold of the waistband of my shorts and pulled them down. My underwear, too. Now I was crying. Please don't. I didn't know what he'd do next. Not really. But I knew for sure I didn't want it to happen. Please. They have identified this book to be read by children in the 4th through the 7th grade. Let's go to the suicide attempt. All right. Again from the book, this is page 152, chapter 26. I woke up in the middle of the night because I needed to pee. I checked the upper bunk. Suki wasn't there. I put my hand under the covers. The bed wasn't warm. Where was she? I felt the hairs on my arm stand on end. The alarm clock on the dresser read 2:48. We were past Suki's usual screaming time. I walked into the hallway, quiet as could be. Francine always left the light over the stove on all night. I could see Suki sitting on the chair next to the kitchen table. On the table was a knife. It was one of Francine's kitchen knives, long and sharp, one she cut onions with. She had used it to make dinner on Thursday, and then I had helped dry the dishes and put the knife back in the drawer, but now it was in the center of the table. Suki was huddled up on the chair, arms around the top of her knees, staring at the knife like it was the best thing in the world, or the worst. Like she didn't dare look away, like the knife was some sort of evil thing with a spell on it maybe, like it was singing a song only Suki could hear. The spit dried up in my mouth. I didn't move. I remembered a scene I once saw in a movie where someone ended up right in front of a poisonous snake. Move, and the snake would strike. Don't move. Same thing. I don't think Suki heard me. She didn't look up. I stood as still as I could, barely breathing. In one part of my brain, everything was whirling around me. I didn't know what to do, but in the other part, things were clicking into place. All of the little signs I'd noticed but not understood. All the pain in Suki's face. All the nights she couldn't sleep. All the days she slept too much. The price of our stay with Clifton was Suki. What he'd done to me was just a tiny piece of what he'd done to her. Even with what happened right after, that moment, that knowing, was the very worst thing. This is it, the most awful part of my story. Clifton hurt Suki for years. Suki looked up and saw me. She grabbed the knife. Quick and hard, I yelled, "Suki!" She plunged the knife down. Snow, snow, snow. When she uses that, it's replacing a profane word. They talk about it at the beginning of the book. If it had ended worse than that knife, Suki wielding it would have been the worst thing, of course. But even so, the moment right there was the second worst thing. It was and is and always will be amazingly snowing hard. Blood spurted like it was coming out of a nozzle. Suki stared at it, dazed. I lunged toward her. The knife clattered to the floor. This 10-year-old girl just witnessed her 16-year-old sister attempt suicide. The sister, who had been sexually abused by her mother's boyfriend since she was about 8 years old. This book, Fighting Words, is, 250 pages long. Every chapter of this book alludes to that abuse that was going on. They don't go into graphic detail other than what I read you, but the whole thing, for anybody that is able to piece the story together, knows that it is about sexual abuse. Is this appropriate for our children to read? Is that appropriate for a sixth grader to read and for the parents to not know the nature of that content? Why is the default for the school district to make this available to every student? Why is it the responsibility of the parents to figure out the content of that book, that it is about sexual abuse and suicide, and have to tell the district, don't give that book to my child? This book was difficult for me to read. I'm a grown man. Why are we giving it to sixth graders? No, not me. I didn't do it. Why is the school district giving that book to sixth graders?